At Calarts, we have 6 different schools. We have art, critical studies, dance, film, video, music, and theater. So I am here to just tell you a little bit about what makes Calarts a special place and also about the different programs within each of these schools. Within art, we have graphic design, photography and media, and art, just art, general studies, or our interdisciplinary contemporary art program. Critical studies, where we have general education credits, dance, film video, which is where all of our animation programs live. We have 2 different animation programs, experimental animation and character animation, and also our live action fine art filmmaking program, which is called the Program in Film and Video. Music, theater, which is both performance and design and production. Calarts, it's an art school. It was founded by Walt Disney. And his ideals, and I think what's largely true today, is a place where there's cross-pollination in the art. There's a real intimate learning environment with a student-to-faculty ratio of about 8 students to 1 faculty member. A contemporary arts aesthetic focused on new and experimental art forms. There's sort of more traditionally focused art schools, and then there's more experimental or avant-garde art schools. And broadly speaking, in general, that's kind of where we lie. We're a very contemporary art school, and we're focused on the artists of today and tomorrow. We have a broad and expanded professional network. Not only does everyone come to the United States from all over to Calarts from all over the United States and all over the world, but they also go back. I know we have a very strong alumni presence here in Korea in particular. So at Calarts, we offer 4 different degrees: Bachelor's of Fine Arts and Master's of Fine Arts. For you guys and your interests, that's really the 2 degrees that you would be looking at. Does anyone here already have a college degree and is specifically interested in an MFA program? Okay, great. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. And we also have Master's of Arts and Doctorate of Musical Arts, but that doesn't really apply to what you guys are interested in. So Calarts is unique in that we have the visual arts and the performing arts in one facility, which for you, if you're a visual artist, all of those performing artists, the dancers, theaters, people like that, not only you may not be participating much in that, but it's kind of the environment of Calarts. And all of those students are potential collaborators. It's also an opportunity to see really interesting kind of avant-garde performance work. And it's also, I've seen an experimental animation student, for example, and they set up a live projected animation that worked with one of the dance students at Calarts. We are a 24-hour campus, and stuff is just going on all of the time, every day of the week. Some of it is that kind of performing arts work, but a lot of visual arts as well. Gallery openings almost every Thursday at noon. There's music, concert performances, many Mondays through Thursdays at noon in the main gallery, plus our on-campus cinema at the end of every year. The School of Film Video stops having classes, and they have a film festival that runs all week. And it's almost 24 hours a day, and people show up to see all of the other work that all of the other students are making. And I'll specifically mention that the animation programs also have end-of-the-year screenings as well. For character animation, it happens at the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. For experimental animation, it happens at the Red Cat, which is in the lower levels of the Walt Disney Concert Hall. So I think it's great. This is kind of our class size, and you can see maybe how many students we have. What I think is particularly impressive is this number, that most classes have between 2 and 19 students. So pretty good access to our faculty. We have about 1,500 students across Calarts as an entire institute. We're about 2/3 undergrad and 1/3 graduate students. People come from all across the United States, like I said, but also all across the world. And this is actually slightly low. The School of Film Video actually has about 19% international students, so about 1 in every 5. Slightly more women than men. So now I'm going to talk about the School of Art, which is both graphic design, art, and also photography and media. art is centered around contemporary studio practice. And it's very experimental, conceptual, and often interdisciplinary in nature. You can see some work here that was up in a gallery show. The program does not have a traditional foundation skills year. That's one thing that distinguishes us from other art schools, is that many other art schools have a first year that's focused on a very broad range of required coursework in different media and modes. Calarts is known, we at Calarts do not have that. There is a kind of non-traditional foundation year where students can experiment and explore in a wide range of mediums. And there's coursework in sculpture, photography and media, interdisciplinary arts, installation, painting, drawing, conceptual forms, and all of that's kind of explored in that kind of menu of courses you can choose. But it's not a traditional foundation year in the sense that many other art schools and programs have. The majority of art classes are critique and seminar classes, and they're also centered around art history and art theory. All of that is woven into the curriculum in art. Students can really engage in a wide variety of art-making practices. There's no restrictions or borders. Painting, sculpture, printmaking, also installation and performance art. It's a studio-based curriculum and practice, and all art students receive studio space all years they are in the program. So for BFA students, it's a shared studio in the first 2 years, but then after that, you get your own studio. And for MFA students, they receive their own fully private lockable studio from the time they begin. So it's 24-hour access to those studios. We also have a super shop for making large-scale work. It's like a machine lab and also a woodworking lab. So another program within the School of Art is photography and media, which is just as conceptual and just as experimental as the program in art. Students take class in photo technique as well as in history and theory of photography. The program, students will make installation work. They'll work in interdisciplinary projects, as you can see in this kind of immersive installation. Photography and media students also show their work all 4 years there in the gallery program, just like in the School of Art. And then they also put together a solo show in their 3rd and 4th years as BFAs. MFAs, I believe, have a solo show every year. I kind of like this one, just how mysterious it is with the landscape. In graphic design, students work in communal design studios, grouped by year level, which allows them to have their own workspace, but they also develop strong working relationships with each other and with the faculty. This is an example of a first-year project at graphic design. Students are required to make 50 iterations of something and communicate what it is without images. This is a tape cassette deck. There's a lot of print design that happens in graphic design, and students we're well known for posters. Student projects also include designing CD covers, book jackets, publication design, t-shirt design. And in addition to that, there is the possibility to focus, and there is coursework in web design and motion graphics, which is sort of a fusion of design and animation. It's a little bit of design on wheels, you could think of it as. Our graphic design students do also curate and design their work, and it's shown in a group show at the end of every year. They kind of build out this space with all these structures. It's a very full and fun show, full of all of the great amount of work that the graphic design students do. There's a huge culture within the program of handmade design, and students will work in lithography and forms like that. But there is also a lot of work in graphic and digital design as well. For example, one of our Korean students made a really interesting app called Types of Type, and it compares typography with Korean typography and American typography, and compares and contrasts them within the app, which I think is really great.
Well, actually, sorry, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is it really important to have like a firm basis of like using Photoshop or like InDesign to get into graphic design, because there's no foundation for this?
Very good question. There's no specific software requirements that we have. Like you don't need to know a specific software program. So in that sense, it's not important. However, there's a different portfolio for every program. So for graphic design, they're asking for 20 images of design, 20 examples of design, a mix of both handmade and digital design. So a lot of people, when they make the digital design part of their portfolio, are using one or more of those programs. But it's not an official requirement that you know Photoshop or InDesign. We definitely have coursework in all of that as well. So when I say there's no foundation year, what that means is that when you enter as a graphic designer, you start immediately taking courses in graphic design. You don't have to take a course in like a broader subject like sculpture or painting. Like a lot of schools have a foundation year where you're lumped in with the art students or you're lumped in with all the other students and you're all taking the same classes, and then you start your design coursework in the second year. I believe that's how it works at many other schools. At Calarts though, you would start immediately in design. And it's a very sequential program though in design, so that first year curriculum is foundational and it lays the first kind of brick to build that you would go to the second year, and then that builds for the third year and then that builds for the fourth year. So there's a lot of really structured support and coursework in things like InDesign, Photoshop, and also in analog design in the first year. So it's just there's not this kind of curricular approach to a foundation year that there is at other art schools. Does that make sense? It's not impossible, and it depends which major. Like moving between photo and media and art is pretty straightforward. We are what's called a direct entry school, so if you would like to switch majors, you're almost always do have to reapply to Calarts and actually apply to the other program you'd like to switch to. So it's not as easy as it is at other schools, but it's also not impossible. But yeah. Film video, which is where animation lives. Film video is the largest school at Calarts. And it's where our character animation program lives. Character animation is focused on telling a story using an animated actor. This is a picture of our famous cubes that if you ever visit Calarts, they're on the second floor. We don't usually take visitors up there, but you can kind of see them from the first floor. That's where a lot of our alumni, famous alumni, had cubes at one point, including John Lasseter, the founder, more or less, of Pixar, pioneer in 3D animation. He's currently the chief creative officer of both Disney and Pixar. He has 4 Academy Awards. 2 of them he got while he was a student at Calarts. He's the executive producer on both films to win in the animation categories this past time it happened, both short and long form for animation. But also people like Pete Docter is an alumnus, director of Up, Monsters Incorporated, and Inside Out, which was recently in theaters. Some more recent includes J.G. Quintel, the creator of The Regular Show, Penn Ward, the creator of Adventure Time, Darren Nefsey, the creator of Star vs. the Forces of Evil. She's the first female series creator at Disney TV for more than a decade. I could keep going, but I'll mention one more. Brenda Chapman. She directed a film called The Prince of Egypt. She also directed a film called Brave, which means that she's the first, she was one of the directors on Brave, but she was the one for all of the development and most of the production. So she's the first woman to win an Oscar for a feature-length animated film. So character animation, life drawing is a really integral part of the curriculum in character animation. And students study life drawing or figure drawing almost all semesters they are in the program. It's a really important part of the application portfolio for character animation. Most students who are accepted into character animation have spent at least 2 years studying figure or life drawing, at least weekly. Something like 4 hours on a Saturday or something like that, treating it almost like a musical instrument. And we are looking for a kind of free or expressionistic approach to figure and life drawing. But it's a very important piece of the portfolio for character animation, but it's also just one piece. So we have a traditional, we're very well known for traditional hand-drawn 2D animation at Calarts. And there's 4 years of coursework in that within the program in character animation. But within the program in character animation, there's also 4 years of 3D or CG coursework. We also support that mode of animation. So at the end of every year, character animation is a special screening called the Producers Show, which takes place at the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Guests from all over the animation industry come to talk to our students during visiting artist presentations. Many of them are alumni, but this one is not. This is Jeffrey Katzenberg, the CEO of DreamWorks Animation. So that's character animation, which is one program, and it has its own particular portfolio. I'll just briefly mention the portfolio requirements. It has a 3-part portfolio. Part 1 is figure or life drawing, at least 15 strong examples, which are uploaded to our online portfolio system, which is called SlideRoom. Part 2 is a sketchbook, just a literal book of blank pages that you would fill with drawings. We're looking for something almost like a visual diary, something you're carrying with you everywhere you go and filling with drawings. Drawings of the world around you, people, places, maybe take it to the zoo, draw the animals, as well as the world of the interior and drawings from the imagination. Part 3 is other drawings. It can be a lot of different things. Development art or concept art that might be used in an animation, or other characters, drawings of characters you would like to animate, graphic novel or storyboard type work, flip books, potentially images of paintings, particularly if they're like character-based kind of narrative imagery, sculptures, same kind of thing, images of the sculptures, character-based or narrative type sculptures, as well as just, any kind of 3D or CG work you're doing. All of that could go into part 3. It's a little more open-ended, as well as just other drawings from the imagination. Because we're really looking for 3 things in a portfolio for character animation. We're looking for a really high level of ability in drawing from life, from observation, and we're looking for a high level of ability in drawing from the imagination, and those kind of go hand in hand. And we're looking for new ideas and new concepts. We're looking for a fresh visual style, and that should be expressed across all parts of the portfolio. Does anyone have any questions about the portfolio in character animation or about character animation in general? Yes?
So do you guys have a character animation program with 2 separate programs, like 3D animation, or just one track and just doing 3D animation?
Yeah, it's one big program. As students go through the 4 years of character animation, they tend to specialize somewhat in the later years. So some students kind of drift more and specialize in 3D. Some specialize more in animation, some like 2D animation. Some specialize more in like concept art or development art. So that's the kind of the broad 3 areas that people tend to specialize in, but it's not a formal split. So we're really interested in people working in 3D. We're interested in anybody applying that has 3D in their portfolios, but it's the same program and it's the same portfolio requirements.
Like you said, like 3 parts are very important.
Yeah.
Entry portfolio, and like if some students want to enter a scholarship, do you see the 3 things at the same level, or do you have any preference?
They're all equally weighted and they're all required. However, the program's very competitive, and in order to be accepted, you have to have that really high level of ability in figure drawing or life drawing. That's essentially just a requirement. So after that, then it starts to be a kind of holistic view, looking at the entire portfolio. I think I heard you say scholarship. We do have scholarship for international students as well. You have to apply for it. And the way you apply for it is by completing the International Student Financial Aid paperwork, which is on our financial aid website. There's kind of a checklist you should go through. Any other questions about character animation? Yes?
Portfolio, but I wanted to know that like the difference between the experimental and character animation curriculum, the first
Yeah.
2 years, what is the difference?
Yeah, I'll start talking about experimental animation here in a second, but character animation is, the differences in curriculum are that character animation is about telling a story and using animated characters, and it's maybe a little bit more of a traditional approach to animation. Experimental animation, it's a fine art animation program, and they support a really broad range of modes and media. Maybe I can just kind of show you the part with experimental. Maybe that'll kind of help clear things up. So experimental animation, like I said, it takes a more fine art or conceptual art approach to animation, and students are really asked to push the boundaries of the animation medium. The program is very small and the curriculum is very flexible, allowing students to carve out their own interests. Experimental animation, I should mention, also has a very high number of prestigious alumni, including Henry Selick, the director of Nightmare Before Christmas and James and the Giant Peach, the MacArthur Genius Award winner, David Hildebrand Wilson, and let's see who else. So Jorge Gutierrez. He's done a lot of different things. He got a Student Academy Award while he was at Calarts, but he most recently directed a film called The Book of Life. Did that come to Korea? Have you heard of that film, The Book of Life? We have a strong tradition of stop motion animation at Calarts, and at Calarts, stop motion animation lives in experimental animation. This is actually a student film that went to Sundance. If you ever want to see it, just send me an email and I can send you a link. And so experimental animation students will pursue a really wide variety of modes and media, though. They'll also work with work that involves a live performer or things that are experimental or like abstract styles of animation. It's perhaps a more visual art kind of approach to animation rather than like a narrative storytelling approach to animation. And it's also where stop motion lives, and it's also where all of our kind of a very broad range of different approaches to animation live. So it's maybe a little bit more of an open program in some ways. Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, and I want to know that the character animation and experimental animation is included in the school of film.
Yes.
So are they has a curriculum like learning how to use the camera and all the other stuff like actual filming?
There's not much coursework in actual live action filmmaking. You could take some of that as an elective, absolutely. So even though it's not easy to change majors at Calarts, it's pretty easy, particularly within the school, to take classes in the other majors. So character animation students, for example, will take stop motion in experimental animation pretty often. As far as I know, experimental animation students will take a class like design in character animation, color and design. So there is interchange between the two programs, even if it's not easy to execute a kind of formal switch between the two. Though it does happen, one person changed from character to experimental this year. She might have been Korean, actually, now that I think about it, but yeah. So both animation programs participate in Industry Portfolio Day, where industry heavyweights from places like Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, Nickelodeon, advertising agencies, and commercial agencies all come to review student work. So that's a great way to get jobs or internships. Oh, that's kind of fun. That's our machine orchestra. It's a robotic orchestra with instruments that play themselves. Let me get to what it's like in Valencia. I'll mention that we also have general studies, and what you receive is a college degree in every sense of the word at Calarts. And we also have academic support, including tutoring through our writing center for help with term papers and stuff like that. If you've never been to LA, it's a really vibrant and bustling arts community, and it's also a growing arts community. We are in the middle of an arts renaissance in Los Angeles. This is work at our downtown performance space, which is called the Red Cat. We also have the Community Arts Partnership where we teach, it's an opportunity to teach students in local high schools. We have a pool. We also have on-campus housing, so you can live on campus. It's a very short walk to classes that way, so I heavily recommend it, especially for first-year students, particularly in the first year. So additional things that we offer through student services, we do have help for arrival and acclimation. Once you come to CalArts, getting a driver's license, opening a bank account, all of that, immigration and visa advising. We can help you with your taxes, which are required. I wouldn't recommend it in the first year, but afterwards we have off-campus housing, advising, all of these things, class registration, English language support. We have a lot of great student organizations and clubs for life, outside of the classroom. And we also offer an international gateway program for accepted international students. So before the first year starts, you would come and there's some time to kind of settle in and learn about the school and the area and America. If you may have never been there, you may have, or maybe you haven't spent much time there. So this is a way to kind of orient yourself to that and to specifically Valencia, where CalArts is in the Los Angeles area. Valencia is a very safe place. There are areas of Los Angeles that are not as safe, but where CalArts is in Valencia, it's incredibly safe. It's one of the safest areas in the United States. And we also have campus security available 24 hours a day. The hospital is quite close, and we also have a nurse on campus. Oh, okay, so you can read that if you'd like, real quick. And if you have any questions about any of this, again, just email me. For admissions at CalArts, we have a 28% acceptance rate, and we have a very high 91% retention rate. Our tuition is almost $44,000 per year. That would be the number you would start at. Like I said, we do have some scholarship available for international students, so I would recommend that everyone apply. I would also recommend applying for outside sources of funding. There's a scholarship for left-handed people, so if I were left-handed, I would have applied for that. But I'm not, I'm right-handed, but maybe you can find something that fits your particular needs to give some financial support, possibly through here in Korea, but also possibly through America. So if you'd like to apply, you would need to submit the online application, which is an online form, 2 letters of recommendation for the BFA programs, application, letters, official transcripts of all of your undergraduate work, an artist statement, just a personal statement that describes why you want to come into CalArts, why CalArts, why your particular program of interest, and the portfolio. The portfolio is the most important piece of an application to CalArts. And the portfolio requirements are different for each program. So I'll briefly run down them for the programs we talked about. For art, just 20 examples of art or more. Graphic design, about 20 examples of design, a mix of both handmade and digital, as well as work that could evidence possibly work that evidences a strong fine art background, paintings or drawings, kind of traditional fine art background. They're very interested in that. Photo and media, 20 images of art, usually photos. Character animation, we talked a lot about that. And then experimental animation, totally different portfolio than character animation. Experimental animation, they tend to be looking for work that is animation in one of the many modes or media that experimental animation supports. And that can be so many different things. So if you'd like to see some work from experimental animation, feel free to email me and I will send you some links and you can kind of see if that program matches your interests. That might be the most clear way actually to see what the program is. And possibly they're looking for work that evidences a strong fine arts background. Paintings, drawings, but also potentially like puppets for use in a stop motion animation, graphic novel type work, flip books, as well as just other drawings from the imagination or paintings or sculptures This is our contact information. I hope you can see that, admissions@calarts.edu. I'm just going to hand out some of my cards. And if you'd like one, just take one.
I was quite worried because my age, compared to like relatively to all the other candidates,
Sure.
is quite I'm quite young compared to others because I took a British curriculum, so my high school ended earlier than expected.
Mm-hmm.
So does that actually like bring some negative like?
No, we don't consider applicants' age as part of the process. It's primarily a portfolio-based application. Yes?
Also, the beginning of the slides, there's a collaboration between different majors.
Mm-hmm.
So is there similar curriculum between totally different school of the student, or I mean, like for example, the school of dance and school of film can be the same curriculum at the beginning?
No, there'll be different curriculums.
Totally
Yeah, totally different. Yeah, dancers will start and they'll just be doing dance. Film video, it's different for each program. Character, it's immediately animation. For character experimental, it's immediately animation. So,
Collaboration, the project is totally outside of the curriculum. So
I wouldn't say it's necessarily totally outside of the curriculum. There are interdisciplinary classes, but you don't start taking the same classes as dance students do. You'll take some, or just any other student. There's some classes that are shared across programs, and there's some kind of shared coursework, but essentially it's a very directed curriculum towards whatever your program of interest is. And there's a lot of collaboration that happens outside of this classroom as well. So the interdisciplinary nature definitely exists, but it's not, they're not interdisciplinary programs. They're very focused on the programs of interest. All right, thanks for coming.